In 1945, Japan lay in ruins. Cities burned to ash, factories flattened, the empire erased. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were radioactive scars. Tokyo was steel and silence. Food was scarce, inflation rampant, morale non-existent, no emperor in power, no army, no identity beyond defeat. Japan had lost not just a war, but its illusion of invincibility. Within a generation, it would dominate global trade. Its cars would outlast American ones. Its electronics would outsmart European ones. Companies became symbols of precision, discipline, design. The world called it an economic miracle. But it wasn't a miracle. It was an economic revolution, engineered by people who understood a key truth. Wealth isn't rebuilt through luck, but discipline. The Japan of 1945 had no functioning industry. 40% of urban areas destroyed. Half its merchant fleet gone. Industrial output fell below 10% of pre-war levels. Millions homeless. Thousands starving. The yen worthless. When General Douglas MacArthur arrived, the initial goal wasn't rebuilding. It was neutralization. The Zaibatsu, Mitsubishi, Mitsui, Sumitomo were to be broken. Assets liquidated. Influence destroyed. Land reform redistributed estates to tenant farmers. One of modern history's most radical wealth shifts. Then the Cold War began. America's goals changed. Soviets expanded. China turned communist. A weak Japan became a liability. Prosperity replaced punishment. Japan would be rebuilt, not as a military empire, but as a capitalist fortress. The foundation wasn't factories, it was philosophy. Japan built a guided economy. Government didn't control production, it directed it. Mitei, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, became the invisible architect. Technocrats studied which industries could make Japan globally competitive. Steel, shipbuilding, automobiles, electronics, resources funneled, tariffs and credit controlled. Every yen had purpose. Japan blended Western technology with Eastern discipline. Companies reorganized into keiretsu. Networks of firms sharing ownership and cooperation. Banks provided steady financing. Firms acted as industrial families, not competitors. Workforce philosophy changed too. Lifetime employment, seniority-based pay, collective loyalty. Workers were assets, not disposable labor. Kaizen, continuous improvement, became the moral backbone. By the 1960s, exports surged. Steel, textiles, electronics, cars flooded markets. Prices unbeatable. Quality undeniable. By 1968, Japan overtook West Germany as the world's second largest economy. The nation moved like a machine. State-guided, banks financed, companies produced, workers perfected. Control was constant. Mitei decided imports, exports, credit. The Bank of Japan printed liquidity when needed, tightened when required. Big corporations favored. Small ones survived on crumbs. The goal wasn't inequality, it was survival. The Korean War turbocharged growth. US military orders revived heavy industry. Japan became an exporter of capitalism, not conquest. Through the 1950s and 60s, GDP doubled every 7 years. Education soared. Middle class emerged. Bullet train launched in 1964. Tokyo Olympics showcased the future. Culture mattered. Wa, harmony, guided society. Profit was responsibility, not trophy. Keiretsu thought in decades. Companies reinvested profits. Banks provided long-term credit. Workers accepted stability over high pay. A hybrid system, neither socialism nor pure capitalism, fortified the nation. By the late 1970s, Japan dominated steel and cars. Sony, Panasonic, Toshiba redefined electronics. By 1985, Japan accounted for 15% of world GDP, productivity high, unemployment near zero, the yen strong. Success bred fragility. Banks and bureaucrats addicted to growth. Speculation replaced production. Real estate and stocks soared. Nikkei quadrupled 1985-1989. Tokyo's land prices surreal. Then the bubble burst, stocks collapsed, real estate plummeted, trillions in wealth vanished. The 1990s became Japan's lost decade. The discipline system trapped the nation. Lifetime employment blocked layoffs. Bureaucratic inertia slowed reform. Cultural harmony resisted disruption. A machine too perfect to evolve. yet it wasn't collapse. Low inequality, world-class infrastructure, social cohesion, health, education, safety remained top tier. The miracle matured. The lesson is clear. Growth can be engineered. Discipline matters. Even success requires evolution. Japan rebuilt not with luck, but with mindset. Every day, worker by worker, decision by decision. The Japanese economic miracle wasn't factories or exports, it was philosophy. The question it asked, what is the purpose of growth? For Japan, the answer was survival. Survival demands evolution. Precision creates fragility. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.